there. Stay there. That's a crossband repeater right there, the FTM 400, 300, sorry. And the extender is below. The FTDX no, the FT847 Earth Station down there on the bottom. Okay, what we got for volume? Let's see. Hit that. Lovely. November 8, X-Ray Lima, Quebec. Audio testing, 1, 2, 3. Check, check. N8XLQ. All right. YouTube's up and the crossband, double crossband repeat today. Yes. Take a look at 50.500 on your 6-meter receivers on FM. All right, need to get that one going. This can be done. Let's see. I use a studio console. This is the screen for it. I'll get on this side where this is the screen for it. Soundcraft UI24R. That's the EQ for the monitor, or the aux, and for the MP. Pretty cool. All right, that microphone's actually running right now, but we're not using it. It's this one. Right here. The AKG C414 XLS in cardioid mode. Pattern. All right. Turn this on to support. mode. Okay, setup is nearly complete. As soon as I get a monitor up here on another tablet to see what this picture looks like, I'll leave it alone. Jeez, this thing's slow. N8XLQ, Lenny here on City with comment.
Whiskey 8 Kilo Foxtrot, portable. Good morning, Jeff. No traffic.
Another nice group. N8QQY, good morning, Jim. Good to hear you this morning, Jim. Good signal. N8FMJ, good morning, Tom. Good signal from Sandusky this morning. Thanks, Tom. N8XLQ, good morning, Lenny. And Lenny, you got a comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, right on, boss. Good morning, everybody on the net. YouTube is up and running, YouTube Live, and I got a different look for everybody today. I'm including all the radios that I'm doing for a double crossband repeat to get 6 meters on the screen. So if anybody wants to know how I'm doing that, I can tell you later on. But we have 6 meters on 550.500 on a 5-watt signal over on an Antron 99 that I got tuned down. But that is giving us everyone's signal on screen today. So I'll have more about that if anybody needs it. N8XLQ, we're up and running.
Fine business on everything, Lenny. Stand by here a minute. Let me get Claire checked in here. That I was going to ask or mention one other thing here. W8KF Portable. Good morning, Claire. Thanks for checking in. Nice signal from your station this morning. Good stuff, Lenny. Thanks for doing that. YouTube Live is up and running, so everybody get a chance to check it out. And kind of anxious to see the new layout Lenny's got put together there. He's got an interesting explanation there on the double crossband repeat. That's super cool. I'll have to check that out. And Lenny, got a quick question for you. Did you? I was going to make some time in here this morning to give you a chance to just kind of talk a little bit about the Yaesu ATAS 120 antenna. Maybe after Bob, WAJBT, if you would like to do that, Lenny, I'll shoot it over to you when Bob's done. Does that sound okay for you this morning, or you got something else going on?
No, that's totally cool, Jeff. Yeah, we can go through that, and then I can explain how I hooked this whole thing up and made it work. But yeah, I've got 2 of those ATASs out here, and they're both set up in different operating conditions right now. And we're using one right now as well for a monitor for the 50 megahertz transmission. So, all right, man, yeah, well, we'll talk about that. That'd be good times.
Very good. That will be very interesting. So, yeah, heads up everybody here. When we get through Dan and Bob, we'll go to Lenny at 8XLQ. Lenny will give us a little talk here on those Yaesu ATAS 120 antenna. Super neat setup for sure. So stick around. That'll be very interesting. Okay. Let's continue here our call up. Anybody else on any of the 3 Berlin Heights repeaters with or without traffic? Call out.
WH2U, John, west of Oberlin. No traffic.
AE8, VOX, Scott, Vermilion Township, no traffic. Good morning, John. Whiskey Hotel 2, uniform, just west of Oberlin. Good signal, John. Thanks for checking in this morning. Always good to hear you. Good morning, Scott. Kilo Echo 8, Victor, Oscar, X-Ray, Vermilion Township. Nice signal, Scott. Thank you for checking in. Anybody else on any of the 3 Berlin Heights repeaters? Call out.
N8XLQ comment on the 6-meter repeater.
Yeah, N8XLQ
back up and running as soon as he can. That's the message for the 6-meter repeater in Berlin Heights, N8XLQ.
All right. Thanks for the update, Lenny, on the 6-meter, or excuse me, on the, yeah, you were talking about the 6-meter repeater, or I might have got a little confused, or were you talking about the Mansfield repeater?
That's the Berlin Heights 6-meter repeater. I can't think of the number on it right now, but yeah, I'll know more Thursday night at the club meeting, W8LBZ, in Sandusky. Every Thursday night at 7:30 we have a club meeting. I'll talk to him then, and we'll find out what's going on with that repeater. It's 50 miles away.
Yeah, real fine, Lenny, real fine there. Yeah, I was getting myself a little confused here between the Mansfield repeater and the 6-meter repeater, but all right. Well, first of all, thanks for all the updates. And fine business on the 6-meter there being worked on. Pat's working on that. Boy, he keeps busy keeping all this stuff running, that's for sure. And yeah, so at the next radio club meeting there, you get a chance to talk to Pat. Yeah, you can ask him about the Mansfield machine and maybe give us an update on that there too. It'll be wonderful to have that come back up offline. I know there's some folks that were anxious to check in from the Mansfield area using that repeater. So good stuff. Thanks, Lenny. And again, we'll be talking to Lenny here in a little while here about the ASU ATAS-120 antennas.
Can you wait a minute?
Let's see here. I think we got those guys checked in. Anybody else on any of the Berlin Heights repeaters call out? Stations on the Elyria UHF repeater. That's the 443.9875 machine, with or without traffic, call out. Kilo Echo 8 Tango Sierra Victor. Jerry in Grafton. Good morning, Jeff. Yeah, good morning, Jerry. Kilo Echo 8 Tango Sierra Victor. Nice signal, Jerry, from Grafton this morning. Thanks for checking in. Anybody else on the Elyria 443.9875 repeater? Call out. And we'll try to pause here as we go along, and if you didn't get a chance to check in here, we'll give you other opportunities to do that. Quick shout out to a good friend of mine, Cliff Tyree, Kilo Bravo 8, Papa Echo Romeo, who may be listening this morning on his radio. If Cliff's out there listening, hey, Cliff there. Lots of stuff to talk about. Again, we got a really, really nice lineup here of stuff to do here this morning. So let's get started first with our WWV report. The solar terrestrial indices for May 2nd, yesterday's date. Solar flux was 100, and the estimated planetary A index was 9. The estimated planetary K index at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on today's date, May the 3rd, was 1. Now, space weather for the past 24 hours has been moderate. Radio blackouts reaching the R2 level did occur. No space weather storms are predicted for the next 24 hours. All right, well, let's take a look at the space weather conditions, see what they have to say. All right, so it says here 50% chance of M flares today. Actually, I think we've already had one early this morning, here a little after 6 a.m. this morning. So a phalanx of new sunspots emerging over the sun's eastern limb has boosted the odds of a solar flare today. NOAA forecasters say there is a 50% chance of M-class Sounds pretty quiet. We'll take a look at our amateur radio on the International Space Station stuff. Before we do, are there any returning stations, or are there any other stations that'd like to check in for a signal report? Anyone else with or without traffic call out?
In AQQI, I got a comment.
Chicken Whiskey 0 Alpha Mike November. Robert, mobile, no traffic.
Kilo Delta 8, Tango Oscar, no traffic.
Golf 8 November, no traffic.
This is KE8PX returning from the OSSBN with no traffic.
Got everybody accounted for here. All right, let me get Ron back first here. KE8PX got you back, Ron, with no traffic. Thanks for doing that for us this morning. Let's see, I got Whiskey 0 Alpha Mike November. Robert, I signal Robert. Thanks for checking in. I have Kilo Delta 8 Tango Oscar. I signal. Thank you for checking in. I have Mark Alpha Golf 8 November. Good morning, Mark. Nice signal. Got you checked in. And Jim, NAQQI. Jim, you got a comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, Monday morning, 8:45, about 8:50, I copied the astronauts with another interview. Good signal for them guys. They just clears the crystals so they hit the edge of the footprint and it was gone. But I give you a call on the phone, tried to get hold of you, let you know they was on there, and didn't get no answer. Go ahead.
Business, Jim. Very good. So Jim, I'm pretty sure he's referring to the school contact that took place Monday. And Jim said it sounded pretty good. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was a school in Pennsylvania. I'd have to go back and look here. Matter of fact, I could do that. And Jim was able to copy him with a really good signal. It sounds like it's amazing how well you can hear him when you're within that footprint like that. It doesn't take much. You don't need a big antenna or anything like that. Yeah, so that was the Council Rock High School South in Holland, Pennsylvania. And I think Kilo Charlie 3 Juliet November Delta, he was the hand that provided the link, the radio link between the students at the school and the astronauts on the International Space Station. Hey, well, thanks for the good signal report, Jim. Appreciate that. And yeah, if you didn't get through, there's a good chance the wife was on the phone. She talks to her sister every morning just about. And they spent hours on the telephone. That's probably why you weren't able to get through. Anyway, thanks for the report, Jim. Anything else on that or anything?
No, that's it. I'm sitting here watching the birth and the career of the space shuttle.
Hey, well, good deal. And I had later on here in the net here, I get a chance there was some good information with regard to the International Space Station, a little update on some things that they're going to be up to, and I think everybody will be pleased with that information. So all good stuff. Thanks for up up on the lake to down to WA3EZN down in Columbus. It was a good conditions this morning for the sideband net. Over. That's all. Fine business, Ron. Well, first of all, thanks for the report. It's nice to get, feedback on real time what's happening on the bands and kind of compare it with some of the information on some of the forecasts that we get. And so, so the NVIS conditions on 75 and on 40 meters look fairly decent, which is probably what you were experiencing. However, what was questionable was how well the band would be due to all the solar radiation. A lot of solar flares this morning. Quite a few of them. Well, one of them was pretty large at about 6 a.m. this morning. And sometimes that really affects the noises up the band really considerably. But sounds like you were able to still hear really well this morning. I would probably attribute that to the NVIS conditions being pretty decent according to the ionogram there in Michigan. And so that's what I try to do is I learn something from it. Maybe the others do too. Instead of just looking at stuff and having it have absolutely no practical value, I like matching it up with reports like you just gave and see how things coincide. And so I guess that's what I would attribute those good signals to this morning were pretty decent NVIS conditions, even though we had those solar flares. Very good. Anything else, Ron? Well, Jeff, I might explain it because my HF antenna currently is a 160 meter dipole. I use a tuner, and it's only 20 feet up on both ends, and the peak is up about 25, and it's not the best antenna in the world, but it probably does have pretty good NVIS qualities. Thanks a lot for doing the net, Jeff. That's all I got. Oh, and the band Clear J in Leary Township. Good morning, Jay. Kilo Bravo 8 Oscar. Nice signal, Jay, from Elyria Township. Thanks for checking in. Anyone else? Right. Let's do our amateur radio on the International Space Station stuff, and then we'll this will give Dan a little bit of time to get in place there. We'll check with Jim KEERN in just a minute or so and see if he heard any what he might have heard as far as HFDX beacons on HF radio from his station. So stand by, Jim. We'll get to you there in just a moment. Right, so the current status of the International Space Station. This is today's date. They just updated it this morning. Okay, so the radio in the Columbus module is still configured for crossband FM repeat. 145.99 is your transmit, PL total of 67, and you listen on 437.800. Again, that's to those frequencies are to allow you to operate through crossband FM repeater via the International Space Station. So you actually would be listening and talking to hams down on the ground in the footprint. Now you could also make a contact with an astronaut if they so decide to operate through the crossband FM repeater. However, most of the time your contacts via the crossband repeater are going to be with other stations here on Earth. So it's kind of like our low Earth orbiting satellite with that crossband FM repeater on it. So pretty neat. So we always like to mention the on and off periods because they do shut the radios off sometime when they're doing work on the space station. And if you're waiting for a pass and you're patiently waiting and you want to work through the crossband FM repeater and you don't hear anything, it's a good chance that the radios are shut off due to work that 30% chance of showers, high of 52 tonight. Mostly cloudy, high of 39. Thursday, here we go. Partly sunny, high of 62. Thursday night, partly cloudy, low of 42. Friday, mostly sunny, high of 68. Friday night, mostly cloudy, low of 48. Saturday, mostly sunny, high of 69. Saturday night, partly cloudy, low of 47. Sunday, mostly sunny, high of 75. So, you know what? I think spring might be here, and that's a good thing. We've had plenty of moisture already. We got a pretty nice forecast coming up there, so maybe our weather will be decent for the rest of the season here. Who knows? Okay, on to some space station passes. We're in a couple different cycles. Got a whole bunch of activity here from the Cheyenne Gong. I tried to pick out three nice ones. ISS is reappearing again, but boy, I'll tell you what, their timing, I think it's even a little bit earlier for you, Jeff. But I found one here, and I'll give everybody these four passes. Oh, here we go. Pass number one, Cheyenne Gong. That's tonight at 10:14. Of course, that's PM. 10:14 at enters, exits at 10:18. Out of the west. Excuse me, enters out of the west, I should say. Exits the east-southeast. Magnitude 0.2 with an elevation, maximum elevation actually, of 72 degrees. So there's pass number one. Pass number two, Cheyenne Gong again. Thursday, May 4th. That'll be tomorrow. Enters at 9:12 p.m. Exits at 9:18 p.m. Enters from the west. Exits out the east-southeast. Magnitude 0.3. Maximum 89 degrees. Boy, there's another neck breaker. Pass number two there. Okay, our third pass is another Cheyenne Gong. Saturday, May 6th. Enters at 9:46 p.m. Exits at 9:50 p.m. Enters from the west, exits out the southeast. Magnitude 0.5 with a maximum elevation of 54 degrees. And our final pass, our fourth pass, is going to be the ISS. This one's for you, Jeff. Sunday, May 7th. Enters at 5:31 a.m. Exits at 5:36. Enters from the northwest. Exits out the east-southeast. Magnitude is a negative 1.7 with a maximum elevation of 22 degrees, pretty low. Everybody keep in mind that the positive numbers, the three magnitude numbers for the Cheyenne Gong were positive numbers. Positive is dimmer than negative, so the ISS with a negative 1.7 is going to be considerable brighter than the Cheyenne Gong. Although I think it was Jeff that reported here a couple weeks ago how bright that was. The Cheyenne Gong was even with a kind of a minimal magnitude. Okay, Jeff. Well, I hope you all like the weather report. I hope everybody gets to see some of the activity in space, and we'll do it again next week. Thanks, Jeff. KCPBU.
Hi.
Geez, thanks for putting that all together. Very nice. Oh, that time on Sunday, May 7th, that's excellent for me. 5:31 a.m. We'll be watching for it, and we'll be looking for some of these other Cheyenne Gong passes later in the evening. So those will be fun ones too to watch for. And real fine on those weather forecasts. Loving those temperatures up into the low 60s and right on up into the high 60s, 75 for a high on Sunday. Sounds wonderful. We're finally getting towards the nice check the day and time to look out the window or go out in the backyard and look up at the sky. It's really something to watch if you've never seen it. All right, we're going to go to Bob here in just a moment.
Lay down. Now I can pet you.
Bob, real quick, anybody else that would like a signal report or that would like to check in with or without traffic called out? Yes, okay, signal report. Bring to the station, I think you were asking for a signal report. You were just chopping there in and out a little bit, so I didn't get your call sign. You may or may not be kind of on the fringe there.
training. Or you can check out hamstudy.org, and they have a easy chart. You can find in-person or online exams there, and it's a little easier to use. So with that, WAHJVT, back to you, Jeff.
Hey, Bob, fine business on everything. Lots of good stuff going on. Yeah, anybody looking for testing? Geez, Bob mentioned the last one in Marion this Sunday at 2:30 p.m. at the TV39 station. Thanks for the update there on the construction there. Also, there's Route 4 interchange. That'd be handy for anybody that's interested. And if you are interested in testing, Bob mentioned Earl Beverage is the contact at 740-361-6173. I just wanted to repeat that one since Marion's close to us here. We'll kind of give them double coverage here this morning. And thanks for all the other information there, Bob. I can't get over the creativity on these special event stations. I like the one Jiggy with the piggy. I read a little bit about that one. So there's some really funny ones out there. Nice to see some people, just having fun with the hobby for sure. And thanks for the update too there on the Toledo Trunk Fest. Sounds like maybe some nice weather for those guys for that as well. And you mentioned, I think, going camping there coming up here pretty soon. So I'm sure you're happy for the nice weather too. Dan gave us that nice, warm, updated weather report, so everybody's smiling about that. All right. Anybody got any questions or comments or need anything repeated on any of the information Bob gave us this morning? If so, call now.
Comment, Jeff, WAHJVT.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, that one in North Carolina, the Jiggy with the Piggy, we did a lot of Hamfest back in the 90s when we were actually following the Hamfest circuit, and that's kind of a staple in the South, is a lot of the Hamfest, they'd have a pig roast as one of the features of the Hamfest, and you never had a problem with good food when at the Southern Hamfest. WAHJVT.
Yeah, real fine. Interesting. Yeah, those guys down south, they're pretty friendly people. And you can't beat a pig roast, that's for sure. Wow. I didn't know that. But I like it. When I see that, I read about it earlier, and it got me laughing, and I heard you bring it up here this morning. So, I thought it'd be good to talk about a little bit about that. Well, I wonder if they still do the pig roast. I guess you'd have to go down there to check it out down in North Carolina. Maybe we'd ask them if we cross paths with them on the radio here when they're on the air with their special event station. I worked a couple guys down south on Echolink here over the last couple days, testing radio out for another guy. And really friendly people down there in Kentucky. Worked a lot of stations down in the holler, and just really friendly people. I guess that's just KSMK was number 262. The different call sign here. So very good. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. Any other comments or queries or questions before we continue? We're going to go to Lenny here in just a second. Any other late check-ins? Call out. All right. You're making a few notes here on the information Jim gave me. Okay, let's check with Lenny, see how he's doing here. He's got some information on a really cool active antenna, tuning antenna, the 8A through ATAS-120. N8XLQ. Lenny, if you're ready to go, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you. Talk as long as you want.
All right. Okay.
Hey, good morning. I gotta get out of this room. Hang on a second. Don't need anything, man. Thanks. All right. Yeah, just as soon as you called me, my water treatment guy showed at the door and started knocking. That's always a ton of fun. Let's see. Let me catch my breath here for a second. ATAS. All right, let me load that. Okay, the ATAS, yeah, man, that's that particular antenna. It is a screwdriver antenna. That's what it's called, and it is a 6-meter through 40-meter screwdriver antenna made strictly for Yaesu products that include the ATAS tuning feature in the tuning, internal external tuning selection in the radio. And usually you find that in the menu. That's pretty crazy. Let's see. So, hang on. Let me break it. Alrighty. Let's see. Well, I've got one set up on the railing outside the house. I'm testing it with it. And I've got one set up on the van. And I'm testing with it. So the one I'm using on the railing is actually live listening to the 50.500 megahertz FM broadcast I'm putting out on that radio. So it's doing a good job. One thing you gotta remember about ATAS antennas is that they're functional and they do a really good job. You've got to let them think for a little while. It takes about a minute for the antenna to decide it's got to do something, so it'll sit there and flash at you, and then it'll go where it's got to go, and it'll tune up, it'll tune down, and move all by itself. You don't have to move it, and then if you need to change it a little bit, you can use your key and on your microphone with your channel up and down buttons, and that will allow the radio to slide the antenna up and down just a little bit to get into the tuning spot that it might have missed and you found, or something like that. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to know. They're heavy. They've got a pretty good sized wind profile, so you've got to make sure you've got them mounted to something other than a magnet mount, unless you're using one of those tri-magnet mounts for an old monkey-made CB antenna or something like that. That's huge, but yeah, they're very functional. I'm looking forward to trying that one out in the van out in Parks on the Air here in a week or two when it cleans up a little bit outside. Break. The one in the van, I have made a ground wire that goes straight to the battery because the van has the electronic rust protection stuff installed. So that puts a charge in the frame of your vehicle to keep the rust down. So you've got to bypass that unit, or I suggest I did it. I took a ground wire, 10 gauge. That's the power wire for the radio is 10 gauge. So I used 10 gauge ground wire, and I ran that up to the battery, and I've got that installed. So it's working fine now. I had to talk to Roger for a little while at Yaesu to get a few of the druthers about this antenna. And it basically, I was trying to move faster than the antenna was thinking. So I thought I was having problems. Turns out now I just got to slow down for a minute and do that kind of thing. N8XLQ, did I miss anything? You got any questions? I don't know.
Jump in here, WB8RE, I just identified. Oh, that was very good, very interesting. I got a couple questions, Lenny. and there may be some others here, too. I'll put some other people in here in just a second. You had mentioned there, taking time for it to tune. That makes sense. I can see where, when it sent its data to the antenna itself to cause the motor to search for the right tuning parameters, I can see where that would take a little bit of time. I had a question here they mentioned, or I see where they were talking about the fact that that antenna tunes 40 meters all the way through to 70 centimeters, so it includes 6 to 70 centimeters along with 40, 20, 15, and 10. They mentioned if you want, you can use, if you got a radio that covers those bands, you can use a triplexer or a diplexer, so you don't have to move the coax, I guess. So makes it really convenient, man. That'd be a really nice setup if you had the radio that you did 40 through 70 centimeters, and you hook up the triplexer there. You don't have to move the coax. Now, man, you got some pretty good capability with that antenna for sure. I've not seen one before, but I just pulled it up here on the computer here too. Looks like a pretty beefy screwdriver type antenna, and looks like it works really slick. I'll turn it back to you, Lenny, and then you can ask some of the other guys if they got some things they want to ask about. Maybe what it costs, how difficult it is to install it, that sort of thing. N8XLQ and the group WB8REI. Over to you, Lenny.
Okay, N8XLQ. Cost is like $300 or $400, somewhere right in there. Let's see. Ease of installation depends on the operator. That's subjective. But what I did, I use it's a regular UHF connector on the bottom of that thing, female or whatever, and so I picked up a Comet mount that's kind of strong, and and it's cool. And so I put that on that mount, and I mounted it on the van. And the one on the railing outside. That they're both holding on real well. So that NMO mount from Comet is pretty good. Pick the one you like the best. That'll handle 100 watts or more. Something like that, and make sure it's strong. I've got it attached to doors on the van. I've got actually 3 of those on the van, 2 super gainers in the ATAS, and those particular mountings are doing well. They make the MNO, and the UHF for that. Let's see. As being a durable thing, it is not. It's fragile. Honestly, I broke mine, and I don't even know how I did it. I think I might have hit a tree with it or something. I don't know. I sent it out to Yaesu, and they sent it back and said I broke a gear. I'm like, oh, okay. So when I was talking with Roger, he told me that, I said, dude, how durable is this antenna? I'm kind of used to stuff that doesn't break, He started laughing at me. He goes, that's a fragile antenna. Don't drop it. I'm like, okay, gotcha, boss. So you got to be very careful with the thing. Be careful with it. It's not something you can just set this down for a minute and toss it in the grass. That's not what we do with these antennas. They're sensitive. There's a lot of stuff inside of them. They don't look like much from the outside because they're black, but that plastic they use, and it just makes it look skinny and small and everything. I saw a video where a cat took his apart, and I was like, oh my God, look at all that gear in there. So it's a working antenna. You just got to keep it. Don't hit trees with it. If you when you're heading back to the house or wherever you're going, and you think you might have some trees, you got to go under. Just drop it down to 6 meters, so it shortens up all the way. And you get under a couple things maybe. I have to worry about it because it's on a van. Some of the car operators aren't going to have to worry about that so much. Let's see. Yeah, they're fragile, so you got to be careful with that. N8XLQ. I think I broke it. N8XLQ. What was the last thing you heard?
I'll turn it over to Lenny there. N8XLQ, WB8REI.
I broke it. Yeah, windy. I got the windy phrase. I don't know. What was the last thing you heard, Jeff? I'm not sure.
You made it in there right at the timeout timer, I think. We got everything you said. My comment was WAJBT. He's got a question for you. So let me turn it over to Bob, and he'll give you his question. WAJBT, WB8REI. Over to you, Bob.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. And Lenny, I had a couple of questions for you. As you probably, I think a lot of people know, I have an apartment indoor antennas. First question is, when it's fully lowest frequency, how high would it be, the total length of it? And the other question, and you mentioned you had one on a railing you were using. Do you need any kind of ground plane? Does it have to have a certain amount of metal as a ground plane to operate that way? I'm not interested in it as mobile, but as possibly something to use inside my apartment. Over to you, Lenny, WAJBT.
Right on JBT, N8XLQ. Yeah, I talked to Raji about that, and he's like, they need to be grounded. So you mount it to something that has a ground to it. Ground planing so much isn't a big deal because of what it does. So, I don't know what you're thinking about doing and setting it in the house. If you're going to put it in the house on something, I take the mount and just run a ground wire over to your tap that goes outside. That kind of helps, a short one, but I put a long ground wire on it and sent it out into the yard and tried to get it to work, and I actually lost 20 meters. So I was like, oh my God, this thing's fickle. So I took that off there, and I was like, screw it, I'm going to put it on the railing. I stopped messing around with short ground wire next to the house, did pretty good. Long ground wire away from the house was pretty much a fail. And so I'm like, you know what? I got a railing right here, an iron railing, like somebody would go to set something up at a hotel or an upstairs porch where they got a railing outside or whatever, keep them from falling into the yard. And, you can mount them on that thing. It just, I grounded the one in the van to the battery because I needed to do that. This one that's on the railing isn't grounded to anything. I have no ground on it whatsoever. I can't get it to do 40, but then it does everything else. So I would look at maybe some kind of a grounding mechanism inside of the house, a little ground wire or something that runs over. You might need it, you may not. It just depends. It's a 120 watt antenna, so that's a lot in the house. I do it all the time. That's one of the reasons I glow on the right side. N8XLQ.
Comment again, Lenny.
I started with mine in the house, and I realized I mounted it too tall, so I literally modified one of my microphone stands, and I mounted it close to the ground, and because, I mean, when it goes up about a foot or so. It's up about 6 foot tall, maybe a little higher, 72 inches, something like that. It's so yeah, it's right in there. So I would look at mounting it close to the ground, so it's got room to go up and down. But you in a regular room, I did that on my patio out here, where this rig's set up, just to the right of the camera area. And yeah, I set it so it was about, I don't know, a foot off the ground. So when I did make it go up and down, it did what it was supposed to. And it works like that. I wasn't using a lot of power, and it was, you know, it's just the Comet or the Comet mount has the wire on it. I don't know, it's about 19 feet long or something like that. And your energy and your ground go through that like it does for your RF. It does the same thing with the tuning control. So, yeah, you can get it to fit in the house, no problem.
Thanks for the information. Sounds interesting. I'm always looking for something I can use inside the house because I have no outside access, like I said. I'll turn it back over to Jeff and let you guys continue and see if anybody else has got questions. WAJBT, back to you, Jeff.
All right, fine business, you guys. What a cool antenna. I'm looking at the spec sheet. So for you, Bob, your question there, and for Lenny, they show a height. The approximate height is 4.59 feet up to 5.24 feet. So roughly 4.5 feet to 5.25 feet is the approximate height. This weighs just under 2 pounds. So quite an antenna, and as Lenny mentioned there, being, it's probably somewhat fragile, which you can imagine. The antenna, inside the antenna itself, not only has it got to have a little motor unit and the decoding unit, it's got to be able to decode the data coming down the coax, telling it, what band it wants to operate on. That's kind of interesting on how that must work. Quick question for you there again, Lenny. That's all that goes to the antenna? It's just the coax. I'm guessing there's no other control cables or anything like that. Back to you, Lenny.
Right on. Just the coaxial wire that goes out. That's about it. That's all you have to do to it, and you can put it nearly anywhere, and it'll function fine. You mentioned something about VHF and UHF. They make a little, I don't know, an antenna-looking horizontal unit thing that attaches to the ATAS. It's $99, and then you can use you get a duplexer or something like that and run it off the back of your 991A, where you've got UHF out, VHF out, and then you've got your HF stuff and 6 meters. So you can take those two, duplex them together, run them out to the ATAS, and then you can do, from the top of 440 all the way down through 7 megahertz down at 40 meters. And you don't need anything extra except that, you got to bring the two together on the back for a duplexer, and that'll work like that. Yeah, I've got to fetch one of those. I haven't tested that thing out yet. That's coming up pretty soon.
Very cool. Well, I tell you what, it sounds like an awesome antenna. Sounds like a price somewhere in the neighborhood of $400, give or take a little bit there. And as Lenny mentioned, it's fragile. You got to handle it carefully, but its capability is awesome. If as long as on the HF band you provide a you got the radio that's capable of all those bands in one radio, why you can hook those separate coaxes up to the coax connectors on the back of the radio. They'll go into that duplexer or triplexer, either 2 ports or 3 ports, 2 bands or 3 bands, and then come out with one coax to see the actual ATAS or ATAS 120 antenna. Pretty amazing device. Again, because it's only got a coax that goes to it, the only way that could work is it must send, some kind of a data stream of some kind in the coax right to the antenna, and then that gets decoded and runs the little motors and stuff. It's amazing too, and it doesn't affect the RF, which is interesting too. Who else? Anybody got any comments or questions for Lenny or anything else that you want to add on the ATAS 120 antenna? Sounds pretty quiet. Man, if you want an antenna that covers all those bands, 40 meters all the way up to 70 centimeters, with the proper connections, a diplexer or triplexer, and proper counterpoise for the HF bands, well, you got an antenna that will do that and automatically tune for you. Man, that's as long as you know the shortcomings here, why you can work with it, why that's quite an amazing little device, I would say, absolutely. Yeah, keep us posted on that, Lenny. We'll check back with you at another time, and you can give us more input on your experiences with it. I did notice one other thing I was going to mention. You mentioned, Lenny, the Comet mount, which is a strong mount by Comet. I see here also they mentioned 2 diamond models, the TE5M and the K400. So those are 2 other models of mount models that they suggest you can use there too. So very interesting. All right, Lenny, anything else?
Yeah, here's something. I'm using the Comet CP-5M magnet mount, 16.9 foot coax for the 259 connector. That's what I've got on both of mine, and I like the way that they have the knob on there, so you can like drop the antenna real quick if you have to turn it. But normally what you do with one of those antennas is you're going to go someplace and you're going to be like, I got to drive through all this crap, all this stuff's up in the air over my vehicle. Just take the antenna off and put it inside. Because you'll have to spend 30 days wondering when it's going to come back. Yaesu's turnaround on the repair shops right now about 30 days. So I just got 2 radios and that antenna back, and they all did them in 30 days, so I was happy with that. If I can think of anything else, man, I'll throw down and see what I can do. When I get that new part, I'll do some work on it, and then also, since these things are set down here where I can mess with them, I'll put a video up on the YouTube page that's live right now, and there'll be a video just on that antenna. Everything that I can come up with about it. NAXLQ.
That would be super, Lenny. Guys can go in there to the YouTube page here and take a look at that. And much appreciated. I think it caught the interest of a lot of folks. I know I looking at it, it's got my interest. Gadgets, like small gadgets, antennas or radios or whatever. As long as you know what the shortcomings are, there's always trade-offs. You learn to work with them and find out that even though there may be some shortcomings, in the long run, the benefits are much greater and they outweigh, anything that might be a shortcoming. So, and that might just be the case with this antenna. Looks really, really, really slick. Thanks for bringing it up and bringing it to our attention here today. I learned something. I think some of the others there did too. Before we switch gears, anybody else? Any comments or questions or anything else you wanted to add with regard to the Yaesu ATAS-120? Really quiet. We're going to move channels. The FCC proposes to allocate 15 kilohertz of contiguous bandwidth between 5351.5 and 5366.5 kilohertz on a secondary basis with a maximum power of 15 watts EIRP. Now, this allocation was adopted at the 2015 World Radio Communications Conference. Now, there's a nice article at the ARRL's website. You can read the whole article, but basically here, towards the end, I'm coming up here towards the end. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes of it here. The ARRL said that years of amateur radio experience using 5 discrete channels have shown that amateurs can coexist with primary users at 5 megahertz while complying with the regulations established for their use. The petition also stated neither the ARRL nor apparently NTIA is aware of a single reported instance of interference to a federal user by a radio amateur operating at 5 megahertz to date. So in the notice of proposed rulemaking, the FCC recognizes that Canada has already adopted 60-meter allocations and related rules that align with those proposed by the American Radio Relay League. The Commission wrote, quote, "Finally, we note that Canada has essentially implemented the same rules as the ARRL has requested," end quote. And the FCC proposed to allocate the 15 kilohertz bandwidth, but stopped short of making a proposal on whether the existing
6s. And so evidently, during a transmit condition, it's blocking the grid voltage, it's grounding it out to those two, the oscillator and the driver. And I remember that from back when I took I think it was my general class test years and years ago, when they were talking more about tube technology. So I found that interesting. It brought a spark back to my brain. Back to you, Jeff, KE8PM.
Fine business, Ron. Good observation there. Grid block keying. And yeah, so in the DX60, part of the power supply is, I think it's like a minus, I don't know, 130 volts, something like that. And it indirectly, yeah, gets applied to those control grids on the oscillator and on the driver, and partially on the power amplifier itself. And with a negative voltage on the grid, that keeps those tubes from conducting. So when the key's plugged in the function switches in CW mode, the key opens the ground. So the ground is removed, and you just have that minus 100-some volts on those grids. And that negative voltage keeps those tubes from conducting. Once you close the key, just like you said, it applies the ground on that lead, and now that negative voltage goes to 0 volts, which is more positive. You're going from a more negative voltage to a more positive voltage. Now the tubes conduct. So you hit the key, the tubes are now conducting because you've removed that negative blocking voltage, and once you open the key up, or excuse me, once you push the key down, you remove it, you open the key, and the negative bias gets applied to the control grids and shuts them off again. Yeah, grid block keying. It is pretty neat. Yeah, if you look over, anybody's looking at the schematic, if you look over to the bottom right where the power supply portion is, you'll see just that one D5, that diode, and a couple resistors, R31, R32, and 2 filtering cans. Those pretty much make up the negative part of the power supply that's used for the grid block keying. Yeah, real good, Ron. Anything else on that?
I believe that's all I got for today. Thanks for explaining it in detail. I know that it affected it, but I didn't know how it affected it to the point of being able to transmit and turning the voltages around, negative and positive, and ground and all that. It's very interesting. Thanks a lot, Jeff. KE8PX.
Enjoy talking about it too, and just a little added thing there. You know, if anybody has one of these radio DX60 about the DX60, looking at your schematic diagram or with reference to the block diagram, call now. Next additional. Yeah, go ahead with your additional, Ron.
I'll try to make it brief. Ever since you started talking about the DX60 and I printed off the schematic and block diagram. See, I'm a member of the Straight Key Century Club, and I operate 40 and 20 meters primarily, and we talk about our rigs briefly, and ever since that, I've noticed I know no less than 4 DX60s that I've heard on the air running about 40 watts, and they are clean, good sounding radios. It's hard to believe that something that old works that good today, but
sound different. Now you might think that, well, why not make that a really long time constant so that the attack and decay times are really long? Well, you can do that, but the problem is that the CW starts to sound real soft, and it makes it really difficult to decode it. It kind of mushes together. You kind of got a back and forth, and you got to find a happy medium. In noisy band conditions, you might want a faster time constant that will make it easier to distinguish the dips and dahs as you're hitting your key on and off. And at the same time, keeping those key clicks to a minimum. Remember, they take up what they make the bandwidth wider. So somebody above or below you on a CW band, that you might be causing them all kinds of grief with key clicks. And so now you know what a key click is. And if you have a Heathkit DX60, now you know where the wave shaping happens. And it's right in that grid block keying circuit. It's pretty amazing, really amazing actually, for how simple it is and what it accomplishes. All right, anybody else got anything on that? You can earn 1 point here. Get 1 point for the week. Anybody? Question? You want to point anything out? Anything like that? Call it out. Good job, everybody. Hopefully, everybody got a little bit out of that. I love this because I learned stuff here too, just digging into this and listening to some of the things you guys bring up. All right, we're getting close to quit time. I promised we'd answer a question we brought up last week, and that was about the Rig Experts HF antenna analyzer. And so specifically the antenna analyzer model that we were talking about is the AA-35 Zoom. The question I brought up, and maybe some of you were wondering about too, was when you look at the main screen that shows you all the information about your antenna, you connect your antenna analyzer to the feed point values, the R and X value. But what never comes out right is this phase angle. Get into it. Did anybody come across that? Has anybody found out anything about it? Or does anybody want to bring anything to our attention about it before I get into it? If so, call now. Hey, you're in. Jeff, I come up with 32.35 for the phase angle. And another thing I want to point out here, or maybe you can tell me, for the inductance value, they've got 259.1 nanohenries. And I question that because if you go through and figure out the inductive reactance and the capacitive reactance, I end up with something different here. Back to you, KERN. First, let's make sure you and I and everybody else are on the same page. And so, I'm just curious, are you looking at that page 11 of the operating manual of the Rig Experts AA35, or are you just writing down the numbers I gave you? No, I'm actually looking at the display they have, and they've got, like I said, 259.1 nanohenries, and I question whether that should have been a millihenry. Back to you, KERN. Okay, you're jumping off into a different area, but that's okay. I have to crunch the numbers, and so that what Jim's asking is if that's not a mistake on the screen, 259.1 nanohenries. And so you can calculate the inductance, just using the inductance formula. It's going to end up being the inductive reactance. You got to know what that is. And then that would be divided by 2 pi, the frequency, and that will give you the inductance. So I would have to crunch those numbers, Jim. And I'm not going to do that right this second, but between now and next week I will. If you see that that's a calculation and it's a mistake, we'll cover that. I'm going to make a note of that. We'll talk about that next week. You may have caught something there. Now, back to the phase angle, and I made note of that inductance reading. Like I said, I'm going to double check it here when I get a chance. Back to the phase angle. So what did you come up with the phase angle for? It was 32.35. That's exactly what I got too, and that is correct for the impedance angle. In other words, the angle that happens between the amplitude of the resistive part and the amplitude of the reactive part. They're 32.35 degrees apart from each other. But that's not the phase angle it shows on the screen. It shows 83.2 degrees. And the reason for that is because Rig Experts chose not to display the impedance phase angle. They chose to display a different kind of angle. It's referred to by a couple different terms. And maybe the most common term is the S11 phase angle. extra test, and it's more like you're going for an engineering degree. Back to you, KO again. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that, Joe. I think it's neat to bring it up, though, because when people look at their rig experts HF10 analyzer, and they look at that phase angle, and they scratch their head, and they wonder why it doesn't come back to the phase angle they computed. And now they know why. It's a different phase angle. And yeah, when we get into these different negative numbers, and it's details. It's not super complicated. It is details. For anybody that did do the math on this particular problem, what you end up with is a -5 plus J28.5 divided by 95 plus J28.5. And punch all the numbers through, you end up with, and do the conversions from rectangular format back to polar format, you end up with 28.93 at an angle of 100 degrees divided by 99.18 at an angle of 16.69 degrees. And now when you do the division and you subtract the angles, you end up with what we're looking for, the real angle of 83.32 degrees. So it actually does work, and it does make sense. Yeah, and this is getting crazy and way in there, but I don't know, maybe not. I think there's a lot of people that follow along here, or at least are catching bits and parts of it. So why does rig experts, why did they choose to use this S11 phase angle instead of the impedance phase angle that we've all been studying? Again, it has to do with forward voltage and reflected voltage. And so we're all used to that, right? Standing waves, all that kind of stuff. So just for an example, if the returning voltage wave is in phase with the forward voltage wave, that means they interfere constructively at the measuring point. They add together, they add right up. Then the S11 has an angle of 0 degrees. They're actually right in phase with each other. To get a little bit crazier, I always like to throw stuff out there, gives people something to chew on or think about. When you're making a measurement, and you're talking about forward and reflected voltages, you're probably talking about using your antenna analyzer in the parallel mode. You would use it in the parallel mode if you were measuring, say, an end-fed half-wave antenna, where at resonance, the impedance is high. It's real high. That's the same idea as a resonant parallel tank circuit. The impedance is high at resonance. So in this case, you would be in parallel mode with your meter. However, if you were looking at, say, a half-wave dipole, which is fed right in the center, the impedance at resonance is minimum. So it's the opposite. And now you might be talking about, you'd have your antenna analyzer in the series model mode when you're looking at a half-wave dipole. And now when you talk about that S11 angle, you're actually talking about, you're talking about the current wave, not the voltage wave. I'm talking about the current wave. And so if it's in phase with the forward current wave, if they're actually in phase, the angle is going to be 180 degrees. It kind of makes sense, right? You know, you got the current going in one direction, and then the equal amount of current coming the other way, they would be 180 degrees out of phase. Again, something to think about. Right. The bottom line is, when you look at all those numbers on your nice pieces of equipment that you bought, it's nice to know what those numbers mean. And in the process of learning about or thinking about it, you learn something. As you dig into it, you learn a little bit about what those numbers mean. And it teaches you a whole bunch of other stuff as you go along. So it is really neat. All right. I'm going to crunch this inductance value here that you were talking about, Jim. While I do, if anybody else has any questions or anything they want to add to that, I'll stand by. Hey, guess what, Jim? I get the same thing. I get 259.1 micro henries, not nano henries. I see like what you're looking at there. You know what? I'm going to dig into that further to see what's up with that. I came up with just what you said, 259.3 microhenries, not nanohenries. And that was using the frequency that they display there of 17,500 kilohertz. So I get the same thing you did, Jim. Yeah, that really threw me for a loop. I couldn't see where they come up with nanohenries. Back to you, KE8ERN. Nope, now, like I said, I'm going to dig into it further because we might be missing something there. But I sure don't think so. I think we got that, and that's kind of like a mistake in the display. But I'll double check that on some of the other examples. Hey, you get a chance to, you'll see there's some other examples in this manual and see if it comes out the same. If not, there may be something more to it that we haven't figured out yet, and we can dig further into it. One last thing I'll mention about this inductance and capacitance values. Notice on manual says don't be confused by the negative value of the inductance or the capacitance. It says it can be useful for experienced users. So I dug into that. So anywhere where you see the minus value, that means that's actually what it's doing is it's taking that value, and that's the value you need to cancel out the other reactive value. So in this particular example, it shows an inductive reactance of 28.5 ohms. If you wanted to cancel that inductive reactance out, you would need to add 319.2 picofarads, and that would cancel that inductive reactance out. And so that's the meaning of that minus sign. And that's all it has to do with reactance, the way they chose to display that. All right, good stuff. Good discussion all the way around. You got anything else, Jim? No, I'm good. Back to you, KE8ERN. All right, fine business. Well, again, thanks for your input there, Jim. You pointed out another interesting tidbit there. We'll dig into that, and we'll see what we come up with for next week. And I won't spend as much time on it. But anybody that's got one of those, I think they sold a lot of them. By the way, those are made in the Ukraine. You know, they got the war going on over there and everything, but these guys are still cranking out these antenna analyzers. And from what I've seen, they look like they're really, really nice pieces of equipment. All right, before we close, anyone have any other questions, comments, any announcements you want to make? Anything at all, call now. That's pretty quiet. Again, sorry we couldn't get to the Ohio section swap shop. We'll get there next week. Again, between now and then, take a look. They posted all kinds of stuff up there. A lot of it's tower sections and antenna tower stuff, rotors, that sort of thing. So if you're looking for that, you might want to check the Ohio section swap shop out. A whole bunch of new stuff just listed. Just looking at the contest calendar coming up here. I don't think network. Everybody have a wonderful and safe week. WBREI and the net are now clear. Don't forget to check YouTube Live if you want to hear the whole net or any portion or check any portion of it again. Lenny does that. Super nice. Thanks, Lenny. WBREI now clear.
XLQ, one more comment.
Go ahead, Lenny, I'm listening.
Okie dokie. Hey, I mentioned a double crossband repeat over here. You want to hear about that real quick before you get your jaws going on that food?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. I'm just sitting here clearing up some paperwork and stuff. And you mentioned that in the beginning of the net there, your arrangement there with the double crossband repeat. Yeah, I was scratching my head wondering what you had going on there. Go ahead, I'll be listening.
Okay, in a nutshell, I am listening to the 805 tower in Berlin Heights, and then that is coming into my Yaesu FTM 300 DR, whatever the suffix is, and I have that set to crossband repeat. So that FTM 300 is taking 805 in, and then it's putting out 432.410 UHF with a 67 tone, so I can, yeah. Anyways, so that's coming out, and then that's going into the, I just fixed it, Yaesu, very old now, FT847 Earth Station. And now that radio, that has a thing called extender mode, so it goes one way only, not back and forth like the FTM 300 and the 400 that, you're listening to the 300 now, but so it goes from 400 into the Earth Station, and then the Earth Station takes that, drops it down from UHF down to 6 meters VHF 50.500, and then it broadcasts 50.500 FM, no tone. And then I'm picking that up with the Yaesu 101 MP, which is hooked up to the video monitor out here. So that's what's happening. And it is a double crossband repeat, because if I stop and wait for no audio, no transmissions coming through, I can hit the AV button on the Earth Station and reverse everything and talk back out to the repeater. So, in essence, we're watching and listening to double crossband repeat right there.
Very good. I jotted down, I actually drew a little block diagram as you were describing it, Lenny, which helps me, makes it clear for me there. I can come back and look at it here, which I am. Very good. So your main reason for doing the double crossband repeat was to allow an easy way to allow you to just hit the AB button and reverse everything that allows you to talk back. I mean, was that the main reason you set up a double crossband repeat scenario? That's what I was getting at.
Not officially, no. I didn't realize that I could hit the AV button and go back the other way with it. Because I just kept looking at the manual. It says, one way, in on the A band is receive, and then, the subband B, that is your transmit. And so I got it all set up, and I was like, what happens if I push this button? It didn't catch on fire. It's like, oh my God, it worked. So I can literally I have to wait for the radio won't do it while it's holding a carrier. But when it goes into receive, then I can push the button and then I can talk back out of it. I'm not doing that now. I'm on my HT, the 3D, and I'm talking in on the 432.410 conversion point, and then that's going out to that's going down to the what's it called? It's going down to the Earth station and being rebroadcast out to I call it Tiny, that radio, the big one, and then also this is going to the FTM 300, and then it's also going out to the 805 machine as well. So it's 805 tower, FTM 300, then the FT847, and then I'm monitoring with the RF AV screen on 50.500 on the MP because it's got that video thing on it. So literally I did it so I could get this up on screen again, because looking at my 991A in videos is kind of boring. And so I set it up like that. So yeah, it's doing the job. It looks like I haven't really played with it, to see what's going to happen. But yeah, it's working like that, man. I've got screenage so I can show you guys like I was showing with the 6-meter repeater, which is what we were monitoring before. And now we can do this because I've crossband down into 6 meters, and it took 2 machines to do it.
Gotcha. That's what I was wondering, what your main reason for the double crossband repeat was. Now I know. So the video that's being pumped onto the video monitor, that's coming off the Yaesu 101. Am I understanding that right?
The FT DX101 MP is the monitor. It's listening and showing us what's going on with our RF and our audio. And that is receiving its transmission from the old Earth station, sitting right under it. You'll see it, I've got the camera back a little bit so you can see all these radios that I'm using to do this. There's 3 of them up there that are monitors, 4 of them. And then the 300's crossbanding, and then the 847 is cross extending right now down into 50, and then the MP, the 101 MP is picking that up, and that's what we're watching.
Yeah, I'm following you. I'm looking at my diagram. I drew out as you were talking, and I'm showing the output of the 101 MP going to your video or whatever you're using for video monitors. Okay. Very good. Hey, thanks for the explanation, man. I got it drawn out here so I can make sense. I scratched my head thinking, now why would he go to all that trouble of double crossband repeating? And now I know why. You got that. You explained it all, having the feature of feeding the video monitor from that 101 MP required you to have to do this double crossband repeat to get the signal down to where you can feed it into the 101 MP. All right, and into your video monitors. Very good. I'm looking forward to checking it out, Lenny. Thanks for doing all that, man. I think other people have been looking at it there too, and I found it to be really, really useful.
Yeah, it's kind of a personal mission for me. I've been, I'm an audio specialist, and recording whatever it takes and everything, and I'm just used to listening to really good stuff or making it sound really good. And some of these microphones that they supply to us with these radios don't fit, so we got to do what we can with them. They're functional and we can do stuff with them, but if a dude or dudette wants to get in here and take a look and see, and listen to how they sound, are they too loud or not loud enough, and then you can actually see that as well. And then if there's any tone control whatsoever in your radio, you can actually look at that and maybe make an adjustment or something. So that's the idea. I'm just trying to clean up the audio and radio world around here. That's it. NAXLQ.
on YouTube. Look, go to your YouTube channel there and find that that latest recording there. They can look at it at any time that's convenient for them. So super neat. Gives people an opportunity to see what their signal looks like you mentioned. They can play with some of their maybe adjustments that they might have in their radios, the part that they have control over, and see what kind of a difference it makes and what the signal looks like maybe a little differently. Again, the ability to look at it, at their convenience and do comparisons is super handy. All right, good stuff. Thanks for the explanation. Thanks for being here today. Very interesting. Really like to talk on that screwdriver antenna Yaesu makes here too. Have a good week, Lenny. We'll catch up with you next week, next Wednesday. NAXLQ 73 from WB8REI.
KE8WLZ.
Right on, Jeff. Take care, buddy. N8XLQ. Good stuff today, Jeff. Station, go ahead.
Yes, I'm awake check-in. This is Dave. KE8WLZ. I've been sitting over here for the past hour and a half, giving a YouTube monitor reading for Lenny.
You're right on, Dave. I appreciate that. I went to Dave. Says like, hey man, listen to this thing. Tell me if it's loud enough or not. I can't tell because the whole house is loud when I do. So I actually have to set that up on the back patio and just walk out of there and close it off. And then I go listen. I listen to a handheld and I monitor with another screen in another part of the house. It's just so loud. But I appreciate that, Dave. Yeah, Dave helped me out a little bit so I get the volume up out there. KE8WLZ, NAXLQ.
You're very welcome, Lenny. You're very welcome.
I copied that there too. Appreciate your help there. KEWLZ in the group WB8REI. Good stuff, you guys. Heading to lunch. Everybody have a good one. WB8REI, we're clear.
N8XLQ. If anybody wants me to leave this monitor up for a little bit and they want to get in there and take a look at their signal and everything and listen to it back, I'll leave it up for a few minutes. And then when I shut it down, it'll still be available to watch again. So it'll be there. But yeah, I'll let it go for a couple of minutes just in case someone wants to pop through. N8XLQ. N8XLQ sounds pretty quiet, so I'm going to do a little explanation here real quick. This is first licensed, technician licensed stuff. I haven't touched anything HF to do any of this hookup and connections and stuff. I did have to do some research and find a particular radio. That's all it was. The FT3D Earth Station is a range extender, and it's crossbanding down from 432.410 down to 500 FM, so we can get a 6-meter signal out. N8XLQ, I'm going to let it go. You guys take care, and ladies too, and we'll see you next week. N8XLQ, signing off.
BREI, also signing off. Thanks again, Lenny. Thanks for the explanation there, too. And we're now clear.
Okie dokie. November 8, X-Ray Lima, Quebec, transmitting on 432.410 and 50.500. Now clear.